Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So today we're exploring what do other people see as truly unique in you, something that they think really makes you stand out. And we'll look at both whether or not that's something you're aware of and you cultivate, or whether it's something you're not aware of that you may want to cultivate or want to mitigate if you're not happy with it. And we'll also have a look at how different sort of people in your life respond to that unique aspect of you and how to best use it for your highest good. So I don't think there's a lot of extra sort of introduction that's necessary. I think that's pretty clear. So it's sort of one of those sort of exploration of you type of readings. What I'm using to highlight and bring up for me via spirit what the unique properties that you have is the Cowgirls and Aliens deck from Rockpool Publishing, plus one other deck. There's another card under there. So there's a couple of more of the Cowgirl and Aliens to give us just a sense of characters. I thought it's a great deck which has sort of like these really interesting characters and concepts that's sort of part sci-fi, part, out in the West. So very interesting sort of way of looking at personality characteristics. And then we're also using the Mystic Maiden's Oracle for a kind of spiritual side to it as well. And that'll give me a sense at the beginning of a constellation of things that how I would suggest actually when we're doing it is you may agree with all three in the way that I draw them together, or you might say a couple of them are really what is key to you. So just bear that in mind as you go through. And you can of course go to more than one reading if you like, because there could be some aspects that are unique in you across more than one reading. But to help with the choice, I asked Spirit for one of the three Cowgirl and Alien aspects to be shown to help with the choice. And the other two, as I say, I don't know what they are, but they're under this. So for pile number 1, we have the Rancher with number 11, if you're drawn to numbers. For pile number 2, we have the AI with card number 36, if you're into the numbers, as I say. And for pile number 3, we have the Sheriff with card number 2. So when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, I've got the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Rancher, and the card itself says, I will nurture others and watch them grow. And I think overall that's the, in looking at these cards together, I think that's the overarching energy that you give off. But I think that what people find unique about you is that you're a little bit hard to pin down. You're like they know they can trust you. They get a very warm vibe from you. They feel like you would, if you're in a leadership role or if you were someone close to them, you would have this very nurturing and caring sort of almost divine feminine sort of aspect to you. Though getting things done, because if you think of sort of about the Rancher there's also the sense of looking after many things across a wide expanse and like many living animals and so forth, just having a sense of watching over something a little bit more vast than others might do. So I do think that you give off a leadership and a nurturing and a stewardship sort of energy, which is part of what people think is unique in you. But as I say, I think people, sometimes they wonder whether they've fallen under your spell with the Enchantress, mystical knowledge and power. So they sometimes think, am I drawn to this person? Do they seem to always know, do they seem to always be right and to be able to give the wise counsel because they're just a really grounded, caring individual? Or am I kind of falling a bit under a spell? Because sometimes they think they see themselves in you, and sometimes they see something very different and they don't know what to do with that. Because if we look at here, we've also got the Shapeshifter and we've got the Clones. Now, the what the cards are saying about this, the Shapeshifter says, I will get to know my true self and be comfortable with who I am. So you are comfortable with who you are. And the Clone says, I will accept life's contradictions and keep an open mind. So part of your nurturing energy that is unique is that you do have an open mind. You are accepting of others and you're accepting of what's different in others. But I just feel like people might feel on some level that it's like they're being a bit beguiled. And not necessarily in a bad way, but like it's because clones, if we think about what clones suggest, it's sort of like replication. So I wonder whether some feel that because you have this stewardship and this leadership and they come to you and you're caring, that sometimes they feel like they become mini-me's or something like that. Like they want to be recognised for who they are, but I think sometimes they may feel they morph into you, or they may feel you do it with them. And this, for some people, I think your energy, which is highly empathic and reflects so that people feel comfortable, it's probably misinterpreted actually. And it's misinterpreted as maybe being a little bit manipulative. Like if you look at something like people who study neuro-linguistic programming, it understands that we have primary modes in which we communicate, and that if you understand that and see that and the other person reflect that back, you can establish rapport. It's kind of like that, and that can be used for very good things, but it can also be used for manipulation. So I do feel sometimes people think, am I being drawn into almost like a cult? Like I'm not saying that you're a cult leader or people see you as a cult leader, but I think you're very influential. And I think sometimes people think they either are morphing into you, or maybe they're not even conscious of it and you just do get mini-me's. Like you think like, how did this happen? I want people to be who they are. I'm happy with who I am. Why are other people responding this way? But there's something going on with that. And then I think as people get close to you, it's almost like the closer they get, the harder it is to really see clearly. It's like at a distance, you seem to be one thing very clearly and they're drawn to it. When they get close to you, you seem to be a multitude of things. So I think you're a mystery. Like, I mean, if I had to sum the whole thing up, I would say that I feel like what is unique about you is that on one level, you come across as incredibly stabilizing, incredibly nurturing, grounding, someone that people would trust, someone that people feel safe with. But on the other hand, sometimes they wonder whether they're drawn into something and they're losing themselves in you, and or you find that happens, and sometimes they think there's something a bit mystical or fey about you, and like maybe they're being beguiled. So it's interesting. You're probably very charismatic actually, because this has a little bit of a feeling of charisma. Charisma, I always think, is a very tricky thing to have. People think, oh, it'd be wonderful to be really charismatic. And there are certain things that you get out of being charismatic, I guess. You know, you get seen, people are drawn to you or whatever. But from what I've observed of the people that I've known in my life who I would call truly charismatic, they have the weirdest relationships because like people get very fixated on them. So I think there's an element of that for you. So you're a bit of a mystery, but weirdly enough, people are drawn to you and feel safe with you, or at least they're drawn in that way, and then they either morph into something like you and almost lose themselves in you, or they start to think what's actually going on. So it's an interesting dynamic. So let's use the tarot. Let's get a little bit more. Let's ask a bit more about what's unique, how this all balances out. We're also going to have a look at what aspects would you recognize and cultivate in this, and then what might have surprised you or might sort of need to be revealed further. So a little bit more about this interesting balance. High Priestess. Yeah, you're definitely seen as very spiritual, very kind of occult, very mysterious, very knowledgeable. Yeah, a lot of people kind of think you're a bit of a mystery, to be honest. The World reversed, the Five of Wands reversed, the Two of Cups, the Six, I think it is. Oh no, the Four of Swords reversed. It's hard to read Roman numerals upside down sometimes. And the Death card. Okay, all right. So yeah, like if we're bookmarked here with the High Priestess and Death, like you are, I mean, that's very scorpionic. That's very kind of moon in Pisces or moon in Virgo. Very, very spiritual, psychic sort of energy. I think you definitely come across that way. It's probably tilting more to moon in Virgo than moon in Pisces, actually. I mean, because there's a bit of a debate about that with the High Priestess. But given that this is a very grounded energy, feeling like right as we go in, the Rancher, I think you come across at first as very grounded, very of this world, know your stuff, know who you are, can look after others, just really competent, like really, really competent. And then people get closer and they realize this mystery, that is this kind of mystery. It's like, you know, once somebody comes close to you, it's like you kind of shimmer, like you become less distinct. It's like an interesting thing. Not everybody necessarily is even going to notice this or have an issue with it, and some are going to be really beguiled, but it is something about you. So, you know, there's a sort of sense of the kind of one step in the material world and almost one step in some other liminal space. But I think people have to get to know you well to see the latter, and by then they might be under your spell. So that's kind of bookmarking. When we look in the middle of it, you have some unfinished business, whether it's sort of karmic that you've come in to do, or whether it's just in general, you kind of feel there's always more to do. That's also, I feel like this Rancher is it's the dominant one in the sense that it's probably the one that's most true to you, actually. I think the rest is because there's something about you when people get closer. Like, I almost think there's 3 steps with you. There's the first step towards you, which is towards this very grounded, very competent person who's just getting on with it because you've got things to do. You're here for a reason. You've got things to do. People look up to you, natural born leader, all that kind of thing. Then you get to the level where it's almost like they get towards the inner circle. That's where you become indistinct. That's where the risk is. The risk for you around people as to whether or not they might start to feel, is this real, and like, am I being beguiled, or start to become mini-me's. Like that, it's almost like there's a danger zone energetically where people have got a little bit closer, and like some will kind of get past that and be fine. Some will move away and some will become mini-me's. But so there's that kind of thing. And then when you get right to the core, that's where it's the ones who kind of can be comfortable with that. And they actually recognize what you're really about. It's not about looking to clone yourself in other people. It's about being comfortable in who you are, and they become comfortable in who they are. So there's like, it's interesting. If you actually parsed out relationships, you'd probably see that pattern if you think about it. But like, basically you do come across as like you've got things to do. You also come across as a peacekeeper. You're sort of someone who solves problems. And you may even feel like you have a mission on the world to do that, to be a peacekeeper in some way, and to create good relationships and good connections. You're also, you've got a lot of heart. Like, people get this whole energy which has to do with, I think, your own capacity to almost be in 2 worlds at the same time, in the material world and the immaterial. And that's what I say, it confuses people. But you're really coming from a very good place. You want peace, you want harmony, and you do have a message you want to get out into the world. So you don't, this is why we've also got the rancher. The rancher takes a position of responsibility. You're going to take a position of responsibility. But as I say, what's unique about you is that you live in these 2 worlds at the same time. And I think you speak at first in the space of conflict resolution and getting on with things. And as I say, when people get to know you a bit better, they're either going to be able to deal with it really well and get very close, or they're going to get like hypnotized into just being like you, even though you're not trying to do that, but that, I'm sure that happens with you, or they're going to run away. So like, there's a really pivotal point where the depth of kind of like occult knowledge under this actually comes forward. Very interesting. So what bits of this, would you recognize or cultivate? What bits will you be likely to be going, yeah, that's me? 5 of Pentacles reversed. 5 of Swords reversed, the Magician, and the 7 of Swords, the Moon. Okay. Like, you do know you're psychic. You do know you're psychic and spiritual. You do know that. So you do recognise it. But it's almost like for you, that's a bit of an afterthought. Like, to you, it's very natural. To you, it's integrated. You don't actually see the difference between the kind of material side of things and this sort of more mystical thing. It's just that other people see them as so separate that they start to get confused when they realise how much you are that as well. So you know that. You do know that you're very connected. But you would probably focus mainly in on almost, as I say, the rancher role here. You've got 2 other 5s reversed. You are here to resolve conflict, to bring people together, to create, like a world in and of itself, like kind of to create something that is harmonised. So you recognise that, and you know that you have the gifts, particularly the spoken word. You're very, very good. That's why there's a message to bring out. You're very, very good with that. Very, very good at negotiation. So like, there's a kind of a sense of like, that's what people see first. They see, as I say, this stupendously competent leader, visionary, something like that. But you're here about harmony, about bringing people together, about creating something, like getting that done, getting things across the finish line in terms of creating that, making it real. Like, I don't think you have a lot of, you don't just like to sit in the philosophical and like, contemplate your spiritual or, philosophical navel. You're not really that interested in that. You want to just make change occur and bring about results. And this is why you seem really solid and grounded. You wouldn't be likely to be someone who is sitting, in some, rarefied academic post, pontificating on what would bring peace to the world. You'd actually want to get out and do it. So that you would really, you would relate to that and you cultivate that. But like, you do also know there's the psychic stuff as well. So what might surprise you in this, or what might be stuff that you need to reveal further to use this unique profile to its highest good for you and for others? Six of Wands reversed, Queen of Wands, Knight of Coins, Judgment reversed. Okay. One of the things that's probably going to surprise you with this is me talking about things like charisma. You might actually relate more to gravitas, but I think you have both. So, because, or something like charisma, because you've got this pattern that I've seen, and it's because of the kind of occult spiritual thing with you, but nevertheless, I've seen this sort of compelling pattern and how confusing it is for people, who have it with relationships with others. So you're kind of like, you need to sort of understand and cultivate and recognize your own charisma a bit more and the impact of that, because with the Six of Wands reversed, you're not recognizing that. It's right next to the Queen of Wands. This is a big part of you. You are very, very captivating sort of person. So that sort of seems odd. You might also say that you didn't feel quite as grounded as I'm saying, or quite as like it's quite as about like just getting on with it. But that is there. If you actually look at what you do and what people see and what they're responding to, is like you do get on with things. You do get things done. In fact, maybe what this is saying actually with Judgment reversed, you may find, like as I say, I feel like with you have like people see you from a distance relatively. So, this could be like you're the, leader of an organization, and people, you come and you sort of like do a talk to the team, and the team see you from a distance. Then there's sort of like the next circle in that are coming towards you in terms of moving up the hierarchy. So at that point that things go a bit fuzzy. Like, I think maybe that surprises you, what I'm saying here would surprise you, because you sort of feel like, you're kind of very grounded and you're the same all the way through. And you are the same all the way through. What I'm saying is that what's unique about you is this combination of the esoteric and the material. But people have to get closer to you to pick up the esoteric, and at that point, you may get wrongly judged. So I think it's understanding that, and it's understanding the impact of charisma, and that will help you. That's what this is sort of saying, to sort of see that you are very grounded and very nurturing and caring, but you are also this person who exists in other spaces, if you can get that in balance and get okay with that, then things work well for you. So what we're going to have a look is responses to this unique set of qualities, and we're going to have a look at three different types of relationships you might have. One is friends and family, one is work colleagues and business partners or whatever, and one is going to be lovers or potential lovers. So we're just going to get an emotional expression. It's a deck that has emotional expressions just to see how people respond. Now, bear in mind that all the people we're talking about now, with the exception with work colleagues of those who are, as I say, if you were a leader and someone was sort of like in a more junior position, all the ones we're talking about here have got to at least that middle point. And I think that's the thing we're really trying to understand, is when people get to that middle point, how do they respond in different types of relationships? So around friends and family, and all of the cards suddenly jumped out, and I don't have that happen very often. So when it does, I feel like it's saying something about it can be a little bit combative sometimes. And I guess that would make sense, like friends and family are going to be close enough, and there could be, if there's any issues there, you're going to sort of see them up front. But let's just see overall, because overall it might be okay. What is the response from friends and family? Oh yeah, shock. So I think, and we're going to get an astrology card, a pair of planets, to look at how to like deal with this, in its best possible way. But I feel that this probably primarily friends, but it could also be family. It could be extended family, or even your own family. And this might have been, when you're a child, you might have had all these sort of psychic things, and you might have seemed very different. And on one level seemed like very structured and getting on with things and mature for your age, and another level, like, if somebody had said you'd been spending the afternoon talking to archangels in the backyard, they probably have believed it. Like, there's a surprise. There's a kind of a surprise. And for friends, a kind of surprise. But it is a little bit like, oh, what is this? And I think this is kind of a bit typical of those, particularly personally, because if you think about it, and so it'll be interesting to see with lovers, if there's this kind of shimmering, I'm not sure now what I'm dealing with sort of moment before they kind of like work with the energy and then can become closer. This sort of makes sense that there would be that kind of energy. So we're getting a couple of planets together that could help them navigate it, because you're not really doing anything, but you do need to understand what's going on. So Jupiter, like it's like friends and family, like it's like the love and the caring and the expansion and all that is here in the nurturing. Just keep focusing on that, and then that will start to draw them into that, and I think also Jupiter is kind of like, this is picking up the clone thing. To the degree that there is any mirroring going on, let the mirroring be around the wish to expand everybody and be inclusive to everybody. So it's kind of like really walk the talk with friends and family, because that gets past that and gets to the clarity where they can do that themselves. Okay, so what about work colleagues? Yeah, they're not sure. Since I felt this was going to be the case with this one. It doesn't mean people dislike you. It's just like, what? Because that's kind of like what that's essentially saying. Like, what? It's not alarmed particularly. And again, I feel like in the work environment, you're a natural leader, whether or not you're holding a position of leadership at the moment. So I think that people would be just waiting to see, what does this actually mean? So, like if things get a little less distinct as they get closer, it's kind of like, what does that mean? And it's kind of, it's the kind of grounded response, but it's not overly enthusiastically happy, but it's not terribly unhappy either. I think there's a sense of anticipation. So how do you deal with that? Moon and Uranus. Okay. Sometimes I think maybe this is saying is that like the best way that you can deal with this is target the energy when it happens at that point. So if people are drawn to you because you seem very solid, competent, natural leader, all of those sort of things, then maybe when people at this point, involve them in something that surprises them, that shakes things up a bit, and kind of let them go free to respond and do what they're going to do. It's sort of like, it's almost like a plane. When people, if there's things have gone hazy. So like, think about this. If you had a hazy thing on your television screen or something like that, or on your iPad or whatever, then it's sort of almost like rebuffer, and it's buffering. It's like rebooting. It's like reboot the thing with a bit of a surprise and get them to be less worried about that, so you become clearer and they become clearer. It's almost like there's something that happens actually. This is a very strange energy. It's almost like when people get to that point, it's almost like your kind of electrical impulses have to realign, and that's part of what's going on here. So if you kind of almost shock the system by changing things up in some way, doing something surprising or whatever, it kind of shocks them out of this into rebooting themselves so that they move forward and do what you would like them to do, which is be themselves. It's a very complex thing that you have here to deal with, so I'm trying to do my best to describe it. So then lovers and potential lovers, how does this play out with them? One would hope you would find someone similar to yourself, but love is complex. Oh, you are likely to find someone similar to yourself, I would say. I think oddly enough, with lovers, there's something about the nature of that relationship that allows for a more calm thing with it. Maybe it's because we're drawn to it as mysterious, and maybe because when we are with a lover, we want to see all their facets. And maybe we do want to merge a little bit with them, but also be true to who we are. It could just be that the dynamic of that, and this might be why we had the Two of Cups here, that it doesn't really too much affect what's going on with lovers. It's more around other people who are not as personally close on that level. So nevertheless, even though that looks quite nice, what will help you with this? Mars and Uranus. Okay, yeah, no, it's what it's saying is that the sexual attraction, the passion, and the energy of that's the shock that's necessary there. It's like, it's actually with lovers, there's something about the chemistry, like the actual chemistry of the attraction, that looks after itself and takes it. Like, it's like once you do this, by and large, with most people, there has to be a bit of a shock to the system at that point that reboots it. And this is done in such a way with lovers because of passion. But like with work mates. It needs to be more getting to their heart and to calm their emotion, like reboot their emotional things so they can recommit to the work at hand. And with your friends and family, it's just like kind of using the clone energy in a positive way to shift them into the shapeshifter energy and so that they can feel that they can really be who they are with you. Interesting. All right, so let's get you a couple of spirit guides to help. You're very interesting people. Like, you're a very interesting example of what happens when someone is very strongly in two worlds at once. So, spirit team, spirit animals for you. We have bison, abundance all around. Yeah, abundance all around. I think this is particularly picking up. Actually, I think I'm going to get a spirit one for each of these, actually. This is what this seems to be pointing to. Like the sharing of things, the sharing of the joy, the sharing of what is good, the sharing of the journey towards expansion of what people are truly, and looking at it as abundance and what you can provide is a really powerful thing. Around the work life, otter, sharing with pleasure. Yeah, like, so it's kind of like, again, it's like shocking the system to get to the emotional heart. What would make somebody feel connected emotionally again to the work thing? And then with lovers, the spirit guide around that, sloth, slowing down. Okay, so like, yeah, kind of get to this zen sort of point, because the chemistry is going to be pretty full on. So like, give it time, because there's a lot of energy with it anyway. But I mean, it kind of looks okay, but don't overdo it. It seems to be what it's saying. Okay, so to finish off, I mean, it is really interesting. To finish off, I just wanted to get some advice from somebody that's very unique from history. So I'm using the love oracles because it's a deck about love, but it is also a deck about historical people. So we're just looking at something that could also just give you some advice, either from a very similar or potentially a very different person from history. And so like, either way, whatever spirit thinks is the best one for advice. And bear in mind the advice that we read. Could be just humorous and you can have a laugh, or it could be profound, but like, you might have to kind of, in your own mind, recalibrate this from being what appears to be love advice. So for you, we get Jay-Z, so very, very modern person. So someone who's into great communication, okay? Great communication. Very powerful. Actually, that's interesting. That's interesting. There's a lot of stories about Jay-Z and the occult. I'm not getting into all the conspiracy stuff, but there is. So that's interesting in itself. I'm not saying you're into particular types of the occult. That's up to you. But there is that point, and he is kind of a focal point of, a group of people. So look at that rather than all the potential controversy that's around at the moment. I don't think it's meant to be picking up that. So his advice is avoid one-off deals or else make sure they are really worth it. So yeah, I think it is about, if people are going to get close to you, make sure they're the ones. It's almost like it's a kind of a test to see if people can actually be in your presence, in your energy. So if you're only going to have a brief connection with somebody because they're not going to pass that test, make sure that it's worth the energy. He says the right partner is the one who can match you and then some. Yeah, the one who can get past that and be at your level. And this is kind of here. And who's going to help you run this town tonight? Yeah, because you are actually meant to be a leader. But like, for those to get you, you're actually trying to create other leaders. Because this is what I'm saying. You're actually not looking for a mini-me. You're looking for somebody who also wants to be able to be who they are and can exist in the two worlds. So the most easy path to that's probably through a lover, I've got to say. But it can be in any of these, but maybe potentially with a lover. But because of all the passion and the energy around that, you maybe need to slow down to work out, is this the one? So I hope that resonates for you. Very interesting people. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the AI, and it says on the card, I think I'll read what's on the card for each of them, I will be open to change and embrace a new perspective. You also have the android, I will seek the truth, and the mutant, I will take care of myself, along with, on a spiritual level, the shaman, communing with the spirits of nature. Now, this is fascinating because even the fact that you went to the AI, there's a couple of things around that. One is that around the time that I'm filming this, and I probably will post it relatively soon after I film it, though I do kind of go by what Spirit says about when to have it scheduled. But Pluto has just gone into Aquarius, so for the first, or it will be there for the next 20 years. Like, it takes a long time to move through a sign, and so it's going out of Capricorn, so it's going out of all the cold, old, traditional, worldly power kind of dynamics into something that is much more about things like AI, technology, telepathy across communities, the transpersonal. We are heading into an age of that, and it's inevitable anyway because of AI, because of the advances there. So you're very connected to that, whether you are literally working in that area or you see yourself in that. There's something about you that is very future focused, something very transpersonal, and something that makes connections and synergies rapidly. So whether or not, as I say, you're literally working in AI, there's an aspect of you that is a bit like what that offers to us. And then we have like the android. So it's like, I think it's embodying it. This is what I'm saying. I think for you, some of you will work in AI or something like that. Some of you will be highly entrepreneurial in that space. But others, I think you embody that AI synergy. And I think that's what AI provides us. AI provides us rapid synergy on a level that of data and of experience and all those sort of things. And so there's something in you that's like that. I think you would think incredibly quickly, whether you're aware of it. You may not even be aware of it. You might think, well, everybody thinks this fast. But in fact, you think really fast. You think in a very future-oriented way, and you embody it. So I think, I feel like whether you right now work in this space or not, you're very entrepreneurial. Like, it's a very Elon Musk type of feeling to it. It's not saying you're Elon Musk. I doubt Elon Musk is coming to this reading, but it's that kind of thing in the sense of what's coming in the future. You're here for a reason. You're here for the future. But you're also very different. And you probably a bit ahead of your time with the mutants. Plus, it's almost like if there was to be people who could take us into a realm, and I'm not talking about whether this is good, bad, or indifferent, okay? I'm not getting into that argument. But if it was going to take us into a realm where we could somehow merge with computers, merge with the machine, merge with technology, or even break through and break out of the matrix and become more all of that ourselves without the need for the matrix, whatever it might be, they would appear to be very different, like the mutants. Like, they would appear to be a bit odd. I think, there's been a rise of things like neurodivergence in the last, couple of decades or whatever, and I think there's a reason for that. I think that there are spiritual energies coming through that are more of the future, and they're the early adopters or the early wave, and I think you're in that thing. But the other thing that I think is interesting, so all of that, but you're also deeply connected to the past, to the ancestral lines, and to the spiritual underpinning of this, because that's shaman are that. Shaman are spiritual leaders and healers in a community, and they are deeply connected to sort of ancestral energy, cultural energy, and so forth. So you're like the marriage of the two. And I actually think, and this is just a personal theory, I think when we fully see AI and that properly, like fully fleshed out, because it's not there yet at the moment. I mean, it is starting to show the synergy of data, but there's a lot more to it than that, I think. I actually think it will be like a portal to connect us to the ancient gods. Like, I really do think they're coming through in that way. So I think you're part of that for whatever reason. And I think, you're almost like the part of the new priesthood, if you will. So, and there is something deeply spiritual about it, and there's a deep knowledge. But as I say, it's sort of something that may not be understood by everybody. You'll find people that do get it because you're coming in on a wave. You're with a wave of people, but you may well be one of the early adopters and one of the early symbols of it. So really interesting. So let's see what we get with the tarot. So we'll ask a little bit more about this unique quality. Then we're going to ask about what do you recognise and would cultivate at the moment out of it. And then we're going to ask what either don't you recognise or what you don't really fully realise that is helpful to realise about it. So a little bit more about it. Wow, okay, so that's an additional card, the patron. Yeah, you are the portal of the future, I've got to say. 9 of Cups, Page of Coins, 9 of Swords reversed, the Lovers reversed, Ace of Wands, Wow, okay. So firstly, like the patron is an additional card, and like I think it shows an extremely strong spirit guide is associated with this. As I'm saying, you're really connected. Like I would say, whether if you've ever done shamanic journeying, you will probably find you have an extremely powerful spirit guide that connects you, and is somehow going to be connected through AI as well. So there's that. It's also, I think, it operates as a kind of like the universe opens a portal for what else is possible. What I'm getting to when I look at this is the fact that like we've got the blue skies and then we have the grey. I had an experience, a spiritual experience, which might have been a near death. I'm not really sure. If it was sort of like from something that happened in my sleep that obviously I survived. But if it was not a near death, it was like a very profound astral journey that I was sort of taken on, I think, by my guide. But anyway, long story short, I think I was in Hokmah, the Sephiroth in the Kabbalah that is the second Sephiroth. It's the first one after Keter. And for various reasons, I felt that one of them being that it had sky very like this, it was grey. And I remember thinking, oh, you don't see colour here. And I didn't actually know that much about the qualities of the Sephiroth at that time. It was only when I was looking things up, and there was reasons that I looked up the Tree of Life that were associated with the experience, that I realised that grey was that. So to me, when I envisage that, when I remember that, that's the sky that's like it. Now, the thing about Hokmah is that it is associated with the magician. It's also, which is like the shaman, it's also associated with the architect. And if you think of things like the Matrix, I was saying the Matrix, so if you think about the Matrix movie, the second Matrix movie had the architect in it. It's a pretty good representation of the energy of Hokmah because it is divine intellect without yet being sort of differentiated and softened by compassion and understanding, which happens at the next Sephiroth, Binah. So I feel like there's something very strongly here connecting you to that. So this is what I'm saying. It's like you're an ancient magi or magus born into the technological future, and like a portal connects the two with you, and like it's the understanding and the kind of like the bringing through that energy. There's a very Hokmah sort of energy. So I like the fact that next to it is the Nine of Cups, because that suggests to me that it's not done devoid of what Binah would bring, which is the caring. So it's not all just something intellectual. And I think this might be also around the shaman, the healing energy. It's not just being a magus, it's actually more like a shaman because there's a healing energy, not just a will to power energy as some sort of high magic does. So that's good. And you're meant to kind of create something in this world, something material in this world as a result of it. And I think take some of the fear out of this. There's a lot of fear around AI, but I think this is like to take some of the fear out of that and reconnect something. I think it's to reconnect us to spiritual energy, but it's like it's the way you wouldn't expect it to happen. A lot of people feel that, the kind of technological world is the antithesis of connecting to the divine, but I think we're going to find that's not true. I mean, yes, it could be like anything. It could be co-opted and used for ill, but I think there's a huge potential, and I think you're connected with that. And I think you do it somehow creatively with the Ace of Wands. This is this entrepreneurial sort of energy. So let's see, what do you recognise around this, or what would you sort of consciously cultivate? Seven of Cups reversed, Seven of Wands, Five of Cups, Knight of Wands reversed, Eight of Cups. Okay, there's a lot of emotional stuff that's processed. This might be the shaman energy, I think, actually. What you would recognise about it is that this combination of the futuristic transpersonal with the intensely personal past ancestral, and it's something like that, that's what's unique about you, is emotionally realistic and gives courage to move and act. So you recognise that. You recognise that by embodying this and understanding that you can act and you can heal past hurts, because I think you weren't understood. You probably weren't understood when you were a child, and you probably to some degree won't be understood for most of your life with some people because you are ahead of the curve. so that happens. So I think this allows you to keep having the courage to move forward and know that you're right even when other people don't fully see it. Um, and and it also, I think that the shaman energy and the healing energy and almost the mutant experience, which you might think is a little bit unpleasant, but it's actually necessary, because what it does is it slows you down enough to clear out the emotional energy as you move forward. So if you weren't having to sort of deal with people who thought you were just odd, then you wouldn't slow down enough to process that energy, and you could almost get overwhelmed with this, because there's a lot of power in this, a lot of almost electrical power. Feels very Uranian. I think Uranus is probably quite strong in your chart. So I think you kind of know that the emotional experiences you have, even if sometimes they're difficult, are part of the journey, and they help you keep on keeping on, but process in a sensible way, so that it doesn't. It's almost like so that it doesn't get absorbed into the vision. So that shaman healing, you have a natural healing center within yourself. So then what about this might surprise you or needs to be revealed a bit more for your highest good? The Empress reversed, the Page of Cups reversed, the Three of Wands, the Sun. Okay. What you don't, I said there's something creative here. What you probably haven't really done at this point is seen as a creative thing. Like some of you might very much just be involved in tech, and you might think this is tech, this is AI, but that's actually very creative. It's like understanding is a creative thing, and understanding that you can connect the creative energy and the heart energy to it. Like it doesn't have to be heartless. Like I think that there is a whole thing about AI, as I say, and a whole thing about technology, which is almost like, it's of the beast system, and it's going to be heartless, and it's going to disconnect us. And I think what might surprise you is it's not. And you may have had the sort of worry about that yourself. And so you've had to, as I say, heal yourself as you went along. But I think it's kind of like understanding that you've not fully allowed yourself to embrace that side of it. The other thing that's interesting too is, as I say with Hokmah here, the Empress upright is very much an energy of Binah, which is so if Hokmah is the divine father and the divine intellect, Binah is the divine mother, and that is the intellect connected to compassion. So there is a step potentially for you where you have to recognize that balance and open your heart. So it might be you're very excited about what's new and so forth, and the shaman is kind of helping you heal when people don't get you. But it's like it's bigger than that. It's like it is important to kind of marry the two. When you do that, then you really start moving towards your soul path. So you probably haven't activated your soul path or fully embodied this yet, because you're processing that you're ahead, and it's like how you deal with that. But like thinking about the heart side of this is going to help with that for you. Okay, so what we're going to do is see how different types of people respond to this unique thing. So we're going to be looking at friends and family, workers, colleagues, business partners or whatever, and lovers or potential lovers. And we're just going to get an expression for each. Now, what I expect to get with this quite often is kind of quizzical things, because when we're talking about what's unique, people can be kind of like, oh, wow, and have to sort of sort through that. But we'll see what we get. So with friends and family, this side of you, which is very future-oriented, but is really grounded with shaman to the ancestry and to the community, how do they respond to that? They're kind of watching it. They're not against it, but they're not sure. And as I say, this is the mutant thing. I think you've always seemed to be different. But that's not a hostile feeling, I don't think. I think it's just a kind of, I'm just going to wait and see. So I think friends might go, okay, you've got this vision for the world where we're all interconnected and can read each other's thoughts. Well, we'll see. And you're probably right. But, family might be the same. Oh, you've got this quirky thing. It's a bit different to us, but, we'll see. So we're going to get a couple of planetary energies together to see how to help you best navigate your sort of friends and family energy around this unique aspect of you. Sun and Neptune. Okay. A lot of this is getting to the sun here. So this is like the more that you can get into your heart and understand things from the heart and express it in the heart, because you're probably very theoretic and very future focused and almost talking like that, like, that's not the point. But there is a point to that. the more you connect into that side of things and the inner shaman, the more you'll be able to show that life path and they'll understand it. So I don't think most of your friends and family are like you. But this was about what's unique about you. So it's like that's how, like, kind of almost softening it with the sort of spiritual side, the shaman energy would help there. What about with work colleagues, business partners, anybody in that sort of space of your life? Oh, they don't know what to make of you. Like, I do think the mutant thing here is very, very true. I think that you're so ahead, and it's like it worries them, because if you think about it in like works, I think you were probably someone who should found your own business and run it, or yeah, or find a very future-oriented sort of business to work in, because I think a lot of workplaces are quite traditional, and so a lot of what you're thinking about, because it's so far ahead of the curve, worries them. So it's to know that you are ahead of the curve, and maybe think about, well, where do I take my entrepreneurial, future-focused energy so that you can lessen that. So the planetary energy around it. Jupiter and Neptune, again, it's kind of like the shaman thing is the answer here. This is why the shaman thing came up, the spiritual side of things. So I think this is just saying you need to kind of like spiritually understand where that's coming from and have a generous spirit to it, because it's not, people aren't like against you. You worry them a bit because they don't understand what's coming, and you seem to represent some of what's coming. Or they just don't get it. It doesn't make sense. I have a friend, actually, she's Aquarian, and she's worked in very senior positions and so forth. And she said to me so many times that she's had ideas or whatever, she's tried to bring it in and it hasn't sort of taken. And then like maybe 5 years later, she's working somewhere else, and somewhere from that thing went, you know what you said, you're 100% right, we should have done that now. But it's almost like she had to wait for people to catch up. So there's a little bit of a thing there. If you think about the workplace generally as being very pentacles based, it's a bit slower. It's based on what's happened before and what's worked before, so future things. Yeah, so like go and work somewhere that's more future focused, or be an entrepreneur, I would say. Okay, then lovers and potential lovers. How does this energy, this uniqueness, work with them? They like it. They're pretty chill with it. I think, like you'll draw in people like yourself. They find it fascinating. They find it exciting, I would say. Yeah, they're fine with it. Like, lovers are okay. They kind of get it, and they're probably a bit similar. You're probably drawing people like yourself. So what's the energy that works best around lovers for you in terms of this unique quality? Mars and Neptune. Neptune all the way through. The shaman is very important here. Like, it doesn't mean you have to go off and study to be a shaman, but by all means, if you want to, it's an interesting thing to study. But that kind of healing, the numinous, all that kind of thing is good for all of it. I think it's also saying, you know what I think it is actually saying? Because Neptune is very, very occult, very spiritual, very interdimensional. It's kind of connecting the connection to the interdimensional realms that you're in, but it's also telepathic. I think it's saying telepathy helps you in all of this. With your friends and family, your kind of almost telepathic understanding of others can help you show why this is your life path. With it in the workplace, that telepathic understanding of what's going on can help you be the generous person that brings abundance and growth, so that people are not frightened by what's happening. And with lovers, the telepathic energy here brings in the passion and the kind of joint commitment to the future. So there's that. There's the telepathy energy operating as well. Okay, so let's get you an animal spirit guide for each type of relationship energy. So for friends and family, white fly, singularity. Oh, the singularity. Sometimes I'm kind of shocked by oracle cards. I mean, they talk about the singularity. You know how and I don't really know a great deal about it, so I can't pontificate at length. But they talk about that concept of the merging with that, the singularity, and then that comes up. I think that with friends and family, I think maybe the thing to understand, and with the life path, is that what scares people a bit about this is the concept of us all merging into one thing, like a hive mind. So I think it's sort of like use your empathy and understanding to say this is your life path and they have theirs and we are each unique. I think that's really what this is saying. Then when we look at workplace energy, Lamb, immaculate purity. Yeah, like be kind. Just be kind. Your intentions are pure. Okay. And then in terms of lovers, spirit animal around that, Bear, the power of introspection. Yeah, I think you'll be drawing in others who are like you, who can go within and do this. So, and that's a big, strong energy as well too with the Bear. All right. So to finish off, we're just going to get you someone from history who was sort of unique enough to be famous in history. Comes from the Love Oracle. So the advice I have will be love-centered, but you can kind of extrapolate it into this aspect of how you relate to others given this unique quality. And it could be just humorous. So if it is, just have a laugh. But let's see what you get. Zelda Fitzgerald. Wow. Okay. So highly creative. Like there is something creative in this. So that is important. Like and she married F. Scott Fitzgerald, the writer of The Great Gatsby. She was an icon in the jazz age. So you are of an age, I think. You are part of a new eon. I think this is why she's come up. Her advice is you'll only be bored if you're boring. Yeah, like kind of like just go for it. Your mind is expansive, like and there is so much to do here. Don't worry about being different. Just enjoy it and embody it. She says life always needs a little drama and lots of dancing. So yeah, like the android looks like it's dancing to some degree. So like, yeah, enjoy this. Enjoy who you are. And she's saying, think only of today. Why worry about tomorrow? So she might be saying that you might need to sometimes, you're way into the future, so maybe also ground yourself in today, like that mindfulness. And that might help with the relationships with others, and it may help ground your energy as well, make you feel a little less different. But you are of this eon that's coming. You are one of the sort of archetypes of that, I think. So own it. I mean, your time is coming, Pile 2. So I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Sheriff. Along with it, we have the Telepath and the Navigator. And interestingly, given that we have the Telepath here, in terms of a kind of spiritual aspect of this, we have the Empath. So very interesting combination here. I'll just read you quickly what's on each of these cards. The Sheriff, I will stand up for what's right. I think this is the core thing. I think the Sheriff energy here is about the fact that you will take responsibility, take control, bring in justice, bring in balance, and help steer things towards something that is good. Because you also have the Navigator. I will take control of my own destiny, but I think you're also you take control of something, you take responsibility for something. And it's like justice, like I think Libra might be very strong in your chart. You're very, very much about what is right. And then the reason that you can navigate really well, the reason that you can lead others or get that balance right is that you are so connected to other people. Like you've got both the telepath, I'm compassionate and will show others understanding and respect. Telepathy is very strong with you. You can read a room, you can pick up energy of people, whether they're in front of you or a long way away. Very much of the kind of like third eye mind sort of area, very, very strong. So your third eye chakra, very, very strong. But you're also an empath, positive energy and compassion, which is really the heart chakra and the connection. So it's not just knowing kind of what people think and believe and what their questions are, but it's also almost being able to step into their experience, feel what they feel. You put these two things together, like you are meant to kind of like bring in justice or a kind of, as I say, navigation, kind of lead in some way groups of people because you can really understand what's going on. So I think that you will naturally gravitate to roles where you help people find their way and help people feel comfortable and confident that fairness will reign and that what they believe and what they feel will be taken into account. So it's like, when they say the cavalry comes or, we've got a new sheriff in town, there's a sort of a sense of now things can be calibrated in a good way. And now we're heading in the right direction. So you give off that sort of energy. but very, very psychic. Like, wow, off the charts psychic. And look, it may be something, like I get from this, one of the things about this, and it might be something, and we'll see whether it comes up much with tarot and others, is that you may have a bit of a struggle sometimes in, because then this is maybe why it says I will take control of my own destiny, in fully detaching yourself from the needs, feelings, beliefs, and so forth of others, and actually going on your own journey. You may almost be drawn into this, like drawn into a vortex. Like you might think, I want to go and do something creative, but suddenly everybody around you, like, I just feel like you've probably had this in your life, like if you wanted to do something for yourself, or you wanted to sort of contemplate something about yourself, that'd be the time you draw in the people who went, I've got this problem, listen to me. Like it does happen with psychics. Like sometimes they feel they're almost at everybody's beck and call. So there's a little bit of that going on here, because people will naturally go to you because you're extraordinary, off the charts, good at that sort of thing. Whether you recognise that's what it is, you are. But I do think there's something here about, if you feel comfortable in saying, I will be the sheriff, I will be the voice of reason and justice, and I will help people navigate, and that's who I really feel I am, and that's what I'm really happy in, then maybe that's fine. But if you want to do something else, you want to be a creative, you want to, I don't know, be competitive and think about something for yourself rather than for others, then you've got to kind of balance the fact that this unique quality that you have means you could have boundary issues that you need to deal with. So we'll just see what comes up as we go through the reading. So with tarot, we're going to ask firstly just a bit more about this unique quality that you have that others are responding to. Then we're going to ask what you recognise and would cultivate in this, and we'll also ask what you either don't recognise or needs to be further revealed for your highest good. So let's just get a little bit more of an idea how this plays out, this unique profile that you have. 9 of Cups, 7 of Cups reversed, 7 of Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles, 10 of Wands, and 4 of Cups. Yeah, this is what I'm kind of thinking. Like, overall, like, you're so on it. You really do know. Like, you know what would make people happy, and you have a very realistic idea about that. And to whatever degree you have dreams of your own, you're very realistic about that as well too. You really understand people. You really understand the dynamics that you're dealing with. And you do overall have a sense about how to help people get what they want and grow from the beginning to grow. You can sort of see what is the material outcome. Where are there opportunities, in like the groups that you're around or whatever, because you can just sense it. You can also probably pick up skills and abilities people have, all that kind of thing. So very good at growth. Like, all of this is very good at growing businesses, growing, like political or social causes, whatever it might be. And like, there's a lot of joy to be had from it, but there's also a big burden. And sometimes you feel emotionally stuck as a result of it. So I do think for you, it's really about boundaries. Like, and that's what anybody who's a telepath needs to think about, boundaries in their thoughts. Like, when does it feel like it's my thoughts and when doesn't it? And how do I recognize that? And an empath needs to do the same thing. Some empaths can't go into big groups of people because they get overwhelmed. Like, you kind of need to learn what you can do and not do. And because you've got both of them, it's like that on steroids. So it's like you're so good at creating kind of harmonious, realistic dreams and growing things that people naturally go to you, but it does bring a burden. So you do need to be aware of that. You do need to work out, how do I not get emotionally stuck? And everything is so other person centered because I can't help it, because I can't detach. Like, there's something here about learning to detach. And I think this is why we have the Navigator, because although you kind of naturally navigate everybody else, it's also like, well, how do you get back on path? How do you relieve the burdens that are stopping you from being on path? Unless, as I say, you go, yeah, I do. I want to run for political office and actually lead people and navigate. Fine, you're kind of merging with the thing, and it is who you are and it's what you live and breathe. But if that isn't what you want to do, then you need the boundaries. So let's see what you do recognise and cultivate in this side of your uniqueness. 8 of Swords reversed, Page of Cups, 8 of Wands, 4 of Wands reversed, Temperance. Yeah, you're the natural justice. You're going to go into positions where things are in conflict or whatever, and you bring them into order. You are like the law, but your law is very empathic and very telepathic. So it's not like you necessarily have to kind of be the final decision maker. It's not like you have to be like literally someone who goes in and they're investigating something and they write down whether or not this person's going to be prosecuted. It doesn't feel as legal as that. I mean, some of you may play it out that way, but it's not required. What you're really doing is you bring balance, and you know that you can do that because you just understand. You get the dynamics better than most people. And you know that helps bring in, kind of like good energy really quickly, and you know that it frees up anything that's stopping that. So, like these laser eyes, like you can see the heart of everything very quickly. You can free any kind of intellectual baggage that's an issue. I think you use the telepathy more to free your mind by understanding other minds, and I think you use the empathy to speed into the heart of the matter, and that's how you can do it. So you know that you can do this. You know you do it. Whether you've thought about it as telepathy and empathy, I mean, some of you may well have, given the collective I have who comes to these readings, but even if you haven't, that's what's really going on. So what remains to be revealed, or, what do you need to know about it or recognize about it for your highest good? High Priestess reversed, the Six of Wands, the Two of Cups reversed, the Ten of Pentacles reversed. It's better that people don't realise it's psychic. Let yourself be recognised for other things other than that. If people kind of realise it was psychic, they might get a bit nervous about it. So it's kind of good in a way that is sort of something that maybe you didn't realise, or if you've realised it, that you keep it, it's not as recognised, it's not as shown. But this is going to have an impact on you that you need to bear in mind about your own love nature and your own career, your own aims and your own ambitions. So it is very much saying that you need to learn how to dial this down, like not let people know, because not let everybody know. Some people will be all right with it, but not let everybody know, because it could cause people questioning you. But it's also here, like, you need to dial it down a bit and recognise the impact of this on your own love life, your own material life, and so forth. Now, as I say, if you've decided I want to be the President of the United States or something, fine, like just go for it. But otherwise, if it's like, well, I want to have love and I want to, follow my own dreams, and I don't want to always be dealing with everybody else's stuff, then you need to kind of like work out how to tone this down or have boundaries. So let's see how it's playing out in how people respond to you. So we're going to look at friends and family, work colleagues, business partners or whatever, and lovers or potential lovers. And we're just using an expression card to get a sense of how they respond to this sort of unique nature that you have. So around friends and family, they really like it. And as I say, I think what you do is so warm and so encouraging. Your friends and your family feel really seen. They feel really understood. It's like the sunlight's coming in. It's lovely, lovely. So let's have a look and see with a pair of planets to see what kind of energy, how you best use this, bearing in mind that your biggest challenge is probably boundaries. Get Mars and Chiron. So there's some healing around your own ambition. There really is. It is really shown this quite strongly. Because like the feedback you'll get from this is very, very positive. When you use your telepathy and your empathy and you kind of bring things into harmony and balance, people freaking love you. And, no wonder, it's lovely. But it does have an impact on your own ambition. So like maybe you have to think about how you temper the friends and family energy to also be able to go after what you want. So then when we look at work colleagues, business partners, that kind of thing. Okay, so there's a lot of admiration of you. I can see a lot of admiration in that. Like you might actually get people who get big crushes on you at work, actually. That could definitely go on. People are a little bit in awe. I think it's really interesting. The sun's there. You're like a sun energy, and it's coming in from the right-hand side. So I think that, to me, that's kind of like right-hand side connects to the left side of the brain, the telepathy. There's something about your telepathy in particular that kind of makes people, in your friends and family, they just enjoy it. Around work, they're a little bit in awe of you. But they're anticipating things. And that's fine. It could work really well, but it could also put a lot of burden on you. So I think you just need to be aware. So let's see what the planetary energy that could help you around that would be. Venus and Mars. Okay, for some of you, you're going to get people who have big crushes on you at work, actually. That's almost inevitable. You may find your partner through that as well, but you're going to have that. People are going to feel very seen. They're going to really like you. I think by and large it's okay. As long as it doesn't become idolatry or something like that, I think it's fine. I think overall, like, a lot of this energy is fine. The only thing is, what do you want to do? And that's important here. So if you are doing something that you love, then you've kind of sorted it out, I think. And then when we look at lovers and potential lovers, which is interesting in this one because, like, the telepathy and empathy could bring you close to them, but they might sometimes feel you're close to everybody and, like, feel a bit insecure. So it'll be interesting to see what we get. What do we get with lovers and potential lovers? Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I expected to say. It's not sort of like really angry, upset or anything, but is it kind of like, really? I mean, I think that there's a sense with lovers in this that it might be like, when's it my turn? Because I feel like you're so drawn into him. So many people come to you because you're so good at this. And I do think it's like, say, it's really important to find a space with lovers and potential lovers to be, like, what makes that special? What makes it different? And if you found somebody through the workplace too, it might be that they can see, like, this is sort of going on all around them. What makes it different? So what energy would be helpful for you? Mercury, yeah, just communicate. That's all you really need to do. I mean, it could also be like telepathy again, like the boundary. See how this is the only one that doesn't have the light coming into the thing? So it's sort of like, be aware of that, like really focus a lot of your attention and communication there, like, and kind of like almost shut out the rest of the telepathy when you're with your lover, I think could be important. All right, let's get you some spirit animals to guide each type of relationship, given your unique nature. So around your friends and family. Swallow, rebirth and hope. Like, you do, there is some healing here. It could be saying that there could have been some healing that you need to do with some friends or family as a result of some of this, as you've started to learn what you want to do. Or if you did decide, I'm going to do a little bit less for everybody else and a bit more for me, this will help you have the rebirth and the healing to get the balance right. But for some of you, there might be some stuff, although overall it's good, there might be some relationships that need a kind of recalibration around work colleagues, etc. Chameleon, adaptability. So you may need to be a number of different things. And like that might also, like when you're that telepathic and empathic, people might get a bit confused about who you are. And some might think you're a bit of a chameleon. It could work really well for you, but you also need to know that if people start to feel that, you need to sort of show with all of this, what is your idea of justice and fairness and what are you really trying to do? Because in the workplace, if people think you're a chameleon, they could start to distrust you. And then around lovers, hen, maternal approach. Okay, this might be saying there's something about the relationship you had with your mother that is a bit prototypical for a good way of understanding relationships with lovers. It's not to say anything inappropriate, obviously, with your relationship with your mother, but it's more this sort of thing like maybe the way your mother saw you and understood this is sort of the way a lover, someone close enough, will also see it. Or it could be saying that you have to be a bit maternal about this with the lover and keep the communication lines open because it is so easy for it to feel like you're there for everybody, and you need to sort of show you're special, like almost a mother's love for a lover on that kind of level. All right, so to finish up, we're just going to get an icon from history. Could be anyone. It's from the Love Oracle, so it has advice that's kind of love-oriented. And there is a relationship aspect to this, so this makes sense. But like, extrapolate it if it seems very romantic and we're looking at something bigger. Can sometimes just be funny too. So if it's just amusing, take it as that. But we'll just sort of finish off with that. Some words of wisdom or humour from an icon who was also unique in their way in history. So for you, we get Queen Victoria. Wow. Talk about someone who had a position of power and had to be sort of like the law of the land. Wow. Interesting. She had a very big family, really loved her lover, really loved her husband. So interesting. Anyway, she says, I would venture to warn against too great intimacy with artists. It is very seductive and a little dangerous. Okay. Maybe that's that you could get very drawn into that because of your telepathy and empathy. Like when you're with creative people, might be a little bit of a kind of be careful, particularly with creative people. She says, no girl would go to the altar if she knew all. Oh, wow. Okay. I think that might be, that's interesting. I think there's something here why communication is so important with lovers, because having that high telepathy, empathy, you almost do know all. So it may be that you need the communication lines to be clear and almost have some boundaries around that, because your lovers need some mystery as well, just like you need it. Otherwise, like how can you really be intimate? Like if you know too much, like I think it's an interesting kind of thing you would have to balance with lovers. And the important thing is not what they think of me, but what I think of them. Okay, so yeah, like you kind of need to detach from their kind of thoughts and how it reflects on you, and kind of connect into, with all this energy, how do I understand it and what do I do with it? So I hope that resonates for you. Very interesting energy, pile 3. Very psychic, very psychic. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, if you did enjoy this, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in future readings.